Welcome back to InfoSec World's 2025 Cyber Risk TV studio, live from Disney's Coronado Springs in Orlando. I'm your host, Mandy Logan. I also have the honor of hosting on the Security Weekly family of shows, and I have had interesting background of crashing into cyberpunk security after major crimes left me with nowhere to turn but ethical hackers. Now, in this great cyber race, as the theme of our conference has brought forward, we are working to arm CISOs and practitioners to stay ahead of threats. Now joining me is Patty Titus, the field CISO at Abnormal Security. And I'm interested to know because you have had 25 years of trailblazing, from items related to post 9/11 attacks, things with TSA, coming forward and constantly needing to monitor the current threat landscape. And I am so interested to know what is specific in your mind about Abnormal Security's focus on really helping the day-to-day implications of the security threats from AI?
It's a great question, Mandy. Thanks for asking. Abnormal has got a unique approach where traditional email security, which is our pervasive product, really looks at indicators of compromise or patterns that threat actors are using in order to get malware or phishing into a company. Abnormal took a step back and said, that's great, and that worked for a period of time, but that time is passing us by. So, and what I mean by that is threat actors are now using artificial intelligence to create crafty phishing emails, crafty social engineering, and I think this is an inflection point for us. And Abnormal's been on this journey for over 6 years, and I was a customer almost 6 years ago, where we had a problem and needed to solve it, and we turned to Abnormal to help us. But I think the difference is Abnormal's behavior analytic platform, which looks at the behavior of an individual to characterize normal behavior, and then looking at things like, where did the email come from? Is it someone you normally communicate with? What are the headers and the destinations and all the technical things that can make up indicators that the behavior is abnormal? And now coming into this new world of artificial intelligence, we need to use it in order to become defensive and perhaps a bit more on the offensive.
Oh, fair point. Really, in looking at the trends that are going on and hearing conversations here at InfoSec World and abroad, AI is an offensive sword, but either way, it can be a defensive sword that's coming at you. Yeah. Either way, you have it on both sides. But I actually want to go back to something else you mentioned, because you said that you were a customer of Abnormal Security before becoming an actual part of the securing forces of Abnormal Security. How and why did that happen?
Well, an interesting turn of events. So I've been a CISO for 25 years. I like to call myself a recovering CISO at this point, but 25 years of experience, and how could I continue to give back to the community? But actually, I was looking for something super tangible to do that made a difference. So we became a customer after we had some near misses, some close security events. But what I really love about the company is the innovation that we continue to do in the space of secure posture management. We have this very, very cool product that we released at RSA this year called the AI Phishing Companion, which actually takes a phishing campaign that's been generated against your company or an individual in your company, and it comes into the company. It actually defangs it. I think that's a good way to put that. It takes the bad stuff out of it and then sends it on to the intended victim. And then we see if the victim actually, like our employee, actually interacts with the email. And if they do, it creates an AI-generated video that pops up and says, when the person obviously has time, they click on it, and it gives them feedback on the email they interacted with to say, this was actually an email phishing that was headed toward you.
Wow.
Don't worry, we're security, we've got your back. But here's how you can spot it the next time. And then it goes through the indicators that we would use that they can understand to help unwind and unpack all of the different threats in the email so that it's real-time training. And they can start to be brought into this picture of this was actually going to happen to you as a human versus we're going to create this giant phishing campaign for everybody and we hope that it resonates with 10% of our population. Those phishing campaigns don't work. We need to get to the point where we're personalizing it based on what's really happening, targeting you as an employee. And that's a different approach to the way we've done security awareness in the past. And I think a much more tangible. And then we just are looking at what else can we do with all this behavioral telemetry? How can we contextualize that even further for our CISO community? And how can we make things better in our space? So that's really why I joined Abnormal. I love the tech. I love the company and the culture. I'm drawing energy from a lot of our employees who are just so enthusiastic about what we're doing.
Right.
And I love the technology.
I do too. So, like, just hearing that and hearing about the advance of being able to extract the nefarious parts, the threat parts of the email, but then use it as an immediate teaching opportunity.
Right.
That's incredibly encouraging to me. And I'm curious, like, going beyond just that training, which is enhancing real world security training, how does your software then help with compliance? Does it, like, I don't know if it would
help me understand that a little bit more.
Well, I was thinking, okay, so if you were able to take the incoming email and you're separating out the threats from it, and those are being, I don't know if they're sandboxed or siloed, they're
removed.
They're removed.
They're actually removed, right?
So now you have detail that is coming in on what threats you're seeing constantly. You also have the detail on what the employee what they would normally have done. And I thought, well, if you're able to take both of those parts, were you able to give detailed insights that would help with security leadership going, well, these are what we are seeing in our office. How does this impact what we need to do for compliance or regulations or changing our policies?
You are spot on.
Okay.
So that's exactly what we're doing. We have a threat intelligence team that actually takes a lot of consolidation of this threat data, anonymized from our customers. So it's taking that threat data and saying, how can we use this in our R&D and better our solutions and make things crisper and tighter? And also, are we doing enough with the behavioral data to actually that threat intelligence to enrich it and provide that back to our CISOs? So we have an analytic tool called Abby. It's an analytic tool that allows you to see who are the most attacked employees in your company. That's super powerful data for a CISO to take to the board, to our executive leadership team, and be able to show that. I heard one company, actually, it felt like a little bit of a competition of the executives. Oh, I was targeted the most last week. And
okay.
Yeah, so not that ever happens. There's not competition in our executive ranks, but it's just an interesting point where we can get to the point of predictability. And that is where I feel behavioral analytics will take us, behavioral AI will take us to being able to be more predictive in the types of attacks. Because if we're seeing, maybe we're an accounting finance company and we provide services to financial institutions. If we're constantly seeing invoice fraud coming in, it's an opportunity for us in security to come up with better ways to inform our employees and create marketing campaigns using real data that's actually happening. Instead of, well, generally in the Verizon data breach, we know that X number of breaches happen because, but now if you can even take that down a couple layers to make it real and, again, contextualize based on what's happening to the company and who we are and my role in the company, because it really is looking at my behavior.
Right.
I can just enrich that so much further to provide better communication to our employees, to make them more digitally aware without it being overloaded with a bunch of stuff they don't need to know. Like, who's going to read the Verizon data breach other than security professionals?
And a few of us, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
I'm pretty much thinking my employees don't really care that it came from the Verizon data breach, but if I would care if it's coming from analytic data that's coming in about our company. Now I have a vested
I
interest.
agree.
Maybe I'm a shareholder. I mean, there's just so many different avenues that you could use to tweak that message as a CISO to your community.
And that is gorgeous. And I just can't get away from this idea that having that type of information, not just on predictive intel for threats that are incoming, but being able to really provide more predictive analytics on what your employees are facing, that taking that information has there has to be a way that it helps future proof coming technology in a way that it does help compliance boards and regulatory agencies go, oh, we do need to stay ahead of this now, and we hadn't quite gone to this depth, where you are getting depth that um, sounds to me like probably at least 20 to 30% deeper than other solutions I've heard of in a similar vein, with being able to pivot directly to security training. I'm not up to date on every single bit of security offerings that are out there, correct? But that is brilliant. Is there another portion of it where you see what abnormal security is doing, particularly to email security, that allows you to rest better at night, knowing we do have a bright future of incredible defenders?
I do think as our behavioral analytics, like behavioral analytics, when you first plug it in, it will set a baseline. But the very interesting thing about machine learning and behavioral analytics is that continuous learning, continuous growth. So it doesn't just scan once and learn it and set a baseline. It is continuous, continuously improving, continuously getting better, continuously looking at what's targeting your specific agency, organization, or company. And I think that's a bit of the difference. We don't try to be peanut butter and smear it across the entire industry or even a vertical market. What we are saying is specific to your agency or organization or company, these are the threats that are coming, so that the messages and the threat intelligence that's specific for you, that's where you need to focus. So what it's doing is eliminating a lot of the white noise or the chaff of a lot of other security tools create noise. It's actually giving you actionable intelligence with the statistics behind it. That's the other piece of it. So I'm not really a great math person, and maybe there's a lot of CISOs that are, but statistics for executives, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for percentages, dollar figures, optimization. So those are all key things that executives are looking for. We can now go armed with statistical data. And I think that's the value proposition of being able to have, numbers don't lie. And I think that's been a hard thing for us as CISOs over my 25-year evolution as a CISO, that I've seen. We've gone from firewalls and IDS sensors to now we're statisticians and having to be able to prove and talk about budgets and show the business value of what we provide. And I think it's a good evolution. It was destined to happen. But I think we're at another inflection point, and that is, how do we derive statistical data to prove ROI, return on investment, of those investments that our companies are making? And so that's the other part that we have to show. And that's another solution that Abnormal can add to your picture. We're not the whole picture, but we're a piece of the picture. And to me, one of the most valuable parts, because the way we communicate today is via email.
Absolutely. And in our last few seconds here, for our viewers who have not yet sampled Abnormal's offerings, what are ways, like what information resources, are there trials? What is the process?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is to go to the website, take a look, watch some of the demos, read some of the white papers, watch a couple of the podcasts that we have, talk to other customers. Our customers are our best sales team. Having been a customer, I will tell you, I could not sing enough praises about the product. even before I joined the company. Now it's a little bit easier because I've got a little bit more on the inside take about what's going on. But talk to other customers, come and see us at events like this, reach out to us. I would say when you think you might be ready, we have a free proof of value that we will do.
Oh, good. Okay.
So nobody wants to pay for a proof of value or proof of concept, so ours is free.
Okay.
We'll turn it on for 45 or 60 days. You can look at the data that comes out of it. We have a very rigorous process to communicate with people throughout that POV, so we don't just plug it in and walk away. We're going to help you understand the data and analyze the data and see what's happening. And if at the end of that you see the value, then we would obviously like you to become a customer. But I think you have to be ready for it, because once you see the data, you will realize, even though you thought you might have good efficacy in the solutions you're using, you may see something totally different. And it may be enough to open your eyes to see what's really coming through the front door that you had hoped would be being stopped by other solutions you might have put in place. It's a defense in depth strategy.
Well, it is, and it's also a beautiful way and a very nuanced but practical way to go. Again, we as humans have to stop our pattern seeking of, well, this is the way we've always done it. And you're now able to give more data to show, well, we've always done it is no longer effective.
Right.
So thank you. Thank
You're
you
so
so much,
welcome.
Patty, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for all of you viewing. For all InfoSec World 2025 coverage by Cyber Risk Alliance, please visit securityweekly.com/ISW. I'm Mandy Logan. We will keep pushing boundaries in just a moment.